day 12 we went to Brno, which is the second city of the Czech Republic. It's also the ancient capital of Moravia. It's like this fairy tale city with cobbled streets and a big marketplace called the Cabbage Square. And there's an enormous castle sitting on a hill overlooking it called the Spilberg Castle. While we were in Brno, we met up with Lukas, who's a local.
I love traveling.
Oh, do you?
I have visited a lot of countries all around the world.
Oh, right. Where have you been?
Italy, Switzerland, Austria, Poland, Slovakia, Germany, England.
Oh, what do you think of England?
France. I like England. I liked the people. They are calm and relaxed.
After dinner in the traditional Moravian cafe, we drove to our accommodation for the night, which was in one of the local vineyards, but it wasn't in the house. We were staying in a couple of barrels at the bottom of the garden. The hospitality on the whole was amazing. The guys at the vineyard even introduced us to the local folklore band, who taught us a few of their favourite songs and even a few dance moves. One of the themes of this trip has been contrasts. One minute we're in an enormous city, the next we're in remote countryside. We're crossing borders on a daily basis. And this was another example of an enormous contrast. One night we were staying in barrels at the bottom of a field in Moravia, and the next we were staying somewhere completely different. Guys, I'm sorry again about the barrels last night in Moravia. I've got somewhere a bit better for tonight.
Yep.
There.
Joking. Amazing. Let's go!
We're not sharing a bed, are we? Go ahead, sweet. This is like staying in Buckingham Palace.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If there would be a suite in Buckingham Palace,
Yeah.
then it would be this one. It's a unique
Wow.
project, so just here in Vienna you're able to sleep in the castle of Brno.
That's amazing.
Do you think maybe we should
It
have
is.
dressed up a little bit?
That's okay.
Staying in the Habsburg Palace was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Unfortunately for us, we couldn't stay long. We had to get up early the next morning, very early, and hit the road once again. And our next destination was Slovenia. So that morning we drove into Slovenia and we made for Lake Bled, which is this picture-perfect lake with a monastery on an island in the middle. And we decided to swim out to it. Didn't look very far, but that half mile took us almost an hour. Sadly, we couldn't stay long at Lake Bled, which was a real shame because it's a beautiful place. Yet another one for the list of places to definitely go back to. We had to push on into Croatia and we made for the capital this time, Zagreb. On the morning of day 14, we knew we had a long drive, but we had to make time for a very special museum in Zagreb. It's the Museum of Broken Relationships, an entire collection dedicated to broken hearts from across the world. After Zagreb, we had the longest drive of the trip so far. It was 800 kilometers. Took us through Hungary, where we stopped in a really pretty town called Szeged. So we're now on the car ferry across the Danube from Romania on that bank over to Bulgaria on this bank. On day 16, we spent the night in Cappadocia at an amazing place, a very unique place called Görem, where people have been living for 6,000 years. They fashioned their homes inside these volcanic rocks, which are called fairy chimneys. We ended day 16 watching the incredible sunset over the Red Valley in Cappadocia. Couldn't stay in Cappadocia too long, so we freshened up in traditional fashion at a local barber's before we headed south again to our most southerly point, a ferry crossing to Cyprus.